21 Bridges is directed by Kirk, and this is his first feature film, as he's only worked on television before, including a few episodes of the first season of Game of Thrones, and this film stars Black Panther himself, Chadwick Boseman, taking a break from playing every famous black man in history as a New York City cop on the hunt for two cop killers. When he figures out where the killers are likely to be, he has the 21 bridges leading to Manhattan, including the rivers and the tunnels, closed off, and he, with the help of a narcotics cop played by Sienna Miller, as well as the entire NYPD, have only a few hours to catch the killers before they have to open the bridges again and the men will likely escape. I didn't hear much about this film. I remember seeing the trailer a while ago and I thought it looked pretty good. It was a while ago though. I also think I got it a bit mixed up with a film called Black and Blue, the trailer for which came out around the same time and has a similar subject matter. Chadwick Boseman is really good as the lead. He's a good actor. He plays a very ethical, principled, good guy. The kind of cop who would never take a bribe and believes in due process and the law. He's very Serpico-esque, but he's also had the bad luck of having had to shoot more people than most other cops, which gains him the inaccurate reputation as a trigger-happy guy who would rather kill criminals than bring them in. His steadfast devotion to doing the right thing and seeking the truth is well established in the opening scenes showing the funeral of his cop father, and it is at the centre of this film, which is a straightforward do the right thing even when it's hard message, which is no surprise considering it's produced by the two guys who directed Captain America, Winter Soldier, and Civil War. I liked Sienna Miller as the tough narcotics cop with a daughter at home and the initial distrust of Boseman. Her accent works okay, but they really try to make her look rough, but she still just looks distractingly beautiful. I've always thought that Taylor Kitsch was one of those actors who's pretty good but just has bad luck picking successful projects. And he plays the more violent and ruthless of the two killers. He plays that part well, and Stephan James, who I'd never heard of before, plays the other killer. It's interesting because as the film goes on and you feel their desperation and see why they're doing these things and how they ended up in this situation, you do begin to sympathise with them a bit, especially James. There are also a bunch of side characters played by familiar faces like J.K. Simmons, Keith David, Alexander Siddig, although David is completely wasted and has so few scenes that I really don't know what he's doing in this. So the film has a pretty simple plot, and it feels like a very 90s movie or a B movie that they've stuck big actors into, partially because it takes place over a few hours and is about an hour and 50 minutes long, but that time just flies by. It reminded me of other movies like The Siege, and it even felt a bit like Nolan's second two Batman films at times. I like the scenes early on when Boseman is using logic and deduction to figure out what happened at the crime scene and using his knowledge of the city to figure out where the two shooters went. The dialogue is very over the top and like, tough cop talk, and it's stylized and it's fun and I liked it, but sometimes it could be a bit too fast and I think I missed some things. So there's the hunt for the two killers, but at the same time we see that there's also a conspiracy going on inside the cops. The two killers are stealing some drugs that turned out to be a shit ton of drugs, and then cops showed up and they had to shoot their way out. And Boseman starts to suspect that the reason the cops were there is because they may have been involved with the drugs, so now he has to try and capture the two killers alive to get information from them, while at the same time the other cops are trying to kill them, partially to hide their involvement, and partially out of revenge for their slain comrades. So the film sets up goals and stakes and obstacles for Boseman to face, and it makes everything pretty tense, and the film never loses its sense of urgency or its fast pace. The scenes of Boseman saying what we need to do, when we see shots of them closing off the city and police helicopters with spotlights hovering overhead, it's all very cool. There are lots of shots from directly above the action, which I like. It gives the film some extra style and makes it feel like the director really wanted to make it look good and put in the effort to heighten what could have been a by-the-numbers flat thriller. There's a funeral scene at the beginning, and as the coffin is laid out, we see the scene from above, and it just looks like an empty street, and then all the cops give a salute, and we see that the street is actually packed, but we couldn't see it because their dark uniforms were just blending in with the darkness of the street. And it looks awesome when their white-gloved hands all give the salute at once, showing like a sea of cops. The action is also well shot, with the highlights being the shootout at the beginning and the foot chase between Boseman and Stephan James. Everything's very clear and intense. We know what each character is trying to achieve and the obstacles they face. There are a lot of wides and smooth camera work, and I really love foot chases. A good foot chase for me is usually the highlight of a movie, and we don't get enough of them. Bad Boys, Civil War, Fast Five, Enemy of the State has like 20 of them. The Mission Impossible movies, of course. Other than one comment, which was more of a joke by Boseman, the film doesn't really go racial. There's no attention drawn to the fact that he's a black cop, even though a big part of the movie is police corruption. I think I was expecting something like this about race to come up, But that was probably because I was mixing up the trailer for this and Black and Blue in my head, and that seems to have more racial subject matter. Just a good cop and a good character who happens to be black. I love it. This film brings up one of the things in this world that annoys me the most. People justifying doing whatever they want because they feel bad. These guys killed cops. What need is there to investigate or ask questions? We need to find them and kill them quickly because their victims had families at home, and we don't want them to feel bad while sitting through a trial. It just annoys me so much, and it's an attitude that a lot of people in the real world have about things too. Evidence? We don't need evidence. Did you see how horrible the thing he supposedly did was? He's a monster. Yes, we used torture, but we had just been attacked and we felt really bad. I knew people who died in 9/11, so I feel extra bad, and that makes it extra okay. I just found it really satisfying to have a hero that's all about getting to the truth and respecting the law, who goes against these people who get emotional and can't control themselves. I did think the ending felt a little strange. It feels tacked on. It doesn't really match the rest of the film at all. I don't understand why Boseman's character would go to that place and confront that guilty person without any backup. I just think that they could have ended the film in a much better way. I'm going to give 21 Bridges a B+. I enjoyed it, the lead was good, the action sequences and storytelling were exciting, it tries for a bit of depth with Boseman and the criminals and the dirty cops and all their points of view, but other than Boseman it doesn't really go farther than, yeah, I see their point. If anything, the film highlighted the importance of due process and seeking the truth in all situations, even if they seem like cut and dry good and evil scenarios. I know we're supposed to be seeing the gritty side and the underbelly of Manhattan, but it's Manhattan. Could we not have shown some famous landmarks or recognizable places? It's just lots of alleyways and dark streets, and they make the setting of Manhattan feel a little wasted. I also would have liked at least one scene set on a bridge. I'm going to make a movie recommendation. If you like 21 Bridges or a fan of fun 90s action movies, I recommend checking out Desperate Measures with Michael Keaton and Andy Garcia. It's a very underrated movie. It's kind of cheesy, it's a lot of fun, it is a simple premise, and it's one of my favorite Michael Keaton performances.
Hey, shut the fuck up! It's good to be the king.
Thank you very much for watching my review. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at LookTheMovies. It all really helps me out. Comment down below and let me know if you've seen 21 Bridges, what you thought of it, liked it, disliked it, agree or disagree with any of my points, or if you have any points of your own. I'll be back soon with more reviews, and I will see you then.